Hi, I'm Walid Saad. I'm an associate professor of chemical engineering here at AUB. And today we have with us Majd. Majd is a net zero strategist. Majd, great to have you on our campus today.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very pleased to be part of this conversation.
Thank you for being here. And I think the location being outdoors is fitting in the sense of learning how the built environment can be in harmony with natural elements.
Indeed.
So we're glad to be here. Majd, you have extensive experience in the race to net zero with a lot of years spent in Dubai. So maybe to start our discussion, can you tell us a bit how the industry and government evolved in addressing net zero efforts throughout the years from your personal experience and what you've witnessed over the past decade or so?
Yeah, sure. So during the last decade, actually, I do remember 10 years ago, we were designing a study on net zero buildings, defining net zero buildings in the UAE. And at that point, we decided to call the study as defining nearly zero energy buildings, because we weren't sure that the market is ready for net zero. Now we talk on net zero buildings, we don't talk anymore about nearly zero. Even the conversation is evolving to climate positive, carbon negative. So yeah, the conversation has evolved and it will continue to evolve. And I think in the coming years, we'll reach a phase where we discuss not only net zero on the operational emissions, but also net zero on the embodied emissions, or looking at the whole life cycle of buildings.
Very interesting. Let's continue our discussion walking around the campus here. My next question is on how is the industry integrating net zero principles in their activities? And is this going to be enough to take us to reach our goals in net zero? Especially that some people are critics of or doubtful that this target can be achieved.
I completely agree. Like, as you mentioned, many people aren't sure if net zero is feasible in our region because of our climate, because of the cooling. But I think there are brilliant examples in the UAE that demonstrate the feasibility of net zero. I can name few of them, such as the Autonomous House by Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, Sea Institute, the Sustainable City, Terra Sustainability Pavilion. All of these are brilliant examples demonstrating the feasibility of net zero in our region.
Very interesting. What about the challenges that the industry is facing in implementing those principles?
I think cost is the main challenge when we talk about net zero buildings. While net zero buildings offer many financial operational savings, the initial cost for the design and construction of net zero buildings remain a challenge. So we need more case studies demonstrating the cost competitiveness of net zero buildings. And here, we need to focus on passive design. Passive design is critical to when we talk about net zero. Passive design looks at the building orientation, the size of the windows, the window-to-wall ratio. All of these aspects are very important in order to improve the cost effectiveness of net zero buildings.
So beyond energy efficiency, if we look at embodied carbon, and it's becoming more and more prioritized. How is it being addressed in the UAE and the region?
So net zero isn't only about energy. Net zero is also about embodied emissions, as you mentioned. Embodied emissions, or the emissions from building materials and construction processes, contribute to 11% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So addressing embodied emissions is very important when we talk about net zero buildings. And I think we are progressing in that direction, but the key building materials that are used in construction are steel and cement. And these two materials come from very carbon-intensive industries, and they are one of the hardest to decarbonize sectors. So addressing embodied emissions is absolutely challenging because of these sectors. But I think there is progress in these sectors and would help definitely into limiting embodied emissions and achieving net zero whole life cycle building.
That's impressive. So practically the built environment has the lion's share in driving us to the net zero. So if we can impact that sector, I think it will be able to move the needle towards getting us to our target of net zero. That's quite interesting.
That's absolutely right. I think what is critical about embodied emissions is the idea between demand and supply. Here we're usually faced with the egg and chicken dilemma, where manufacturers from one side are hesitant to invest or to scale up low carbon building technologies when there's no demand. On the other side, developers don't want to invest in low carbon building technologies when these technologies or materials aren't available in the market or aren't cost effective. So there's this kind of mismatch between supply and demand. However, these two sectors need to be decarbonized by 2050, and I think we are moving in the right direction.
And in other aspects, do you see any trends moving forward in the next 5-10 years that look at other aspects of sustainability that weren't prioritized previously?
I think in addition to net zero, we need to focus on climate resilience. As we've seen during the last couple of years, or maybe last year, the flood in Dubai, the wildfires in California this year, provide evidence that climate change is happening and the impacts we're living it on daily basis. So we need to design buildings and infrastructures to consider such events. So climate resilience is extremely important when we talk about the future of the construction sector. There are other trends definitely, such as health and well-being of building occupants, also digital transformation. All of these come together hand in hand and will shape up the construction industry.
Majd, thank you for a great conversation, very insightful. We look forward to more conversations to come and witnessing the race to net zero.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walid. Looking forward to continuing this conversation.